Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're jumping right into a totally fascinating blueprint for how a massive environmental liability might literally become a lucrative clean energy asset. We're going to explore huge financial commitment that's designed to flip waste into wealth, and we'll see exactly how one major policy could completely reshape an entire nation's energy landscape.
All right, let's kick things off with a staggering number, 500 million. That is 500 million tons of agricultural residue generated annually in India. And right now, a massive portion of this is simply burnt in the fields. It creates this thick, choking smog that blankets the region year after year. Now, it's a well-known environmental crisis, sure, but as we're going to uncover today, it's also a massive, completely untapped energy resource. So, here is our roadmap for today. We're covering the waste-to-wealth vision, the massive GOBARdhan investment, how they're fixing industry bottlenecks, the new mandatory blending targets, and finally, what all this means for India's future.
Okay, let's start with Section 1, the waste-to-wealth vision.
This right here perfectly captures a really intense dual tension in India. On one hand, the country is practically choking on abundant burning farm waste, those 500 million tons we just talked about. But on the flip side, the nation remains heavily dependent on imported natural gas just to meet its rapidly growing energy needs. It's kind of a frustrating paradox, right? You're importing super expensive fuel from abroad while literally setting potential fuel on fire as trash right at home.
So what's the actual fix here? Well, the ultimate two birds, one stone solution to both of these problems is compressed biogas, or CBG. Basically, it's a clean fuel produced by processing agricultural residue, cattle dung, press mud, and municipal organic waste. By converting that massive pile of organic trash directly into usable fuel, you instantly eliminate the field burning and you reduce those expensive imports. It's simple and elegant in theory, absolutely.
Which brings us to part 2, the massive GOBARdhan investment. Getting a plan like that off the ground requires serious capital and infrastructure, and this is a monumental move. The Union Cabinet just approved a staggering 23,731 crore rupee scheme to boost biogas, officially part of the GOBARdhan initiative. This is a national circular bioenergy scheme set to roll out over a decade, starting from financial year 2027 all the way through 2036. It is a loud and clear signal that the government is betting big, really big, on this waste-to-wealth economy.
The crucial takeaway is the sheer scale of the capital assistance provided by the scheme. The overarching goal is to scale domestic output nearly tenfold and severely slash import dependence. How exactly? By offering up to 2 crore rupees per ton per day of installed CBG capacity. And what's great is this isn't just for brand new ground-up builds. Existing or brownfield projects that are adding capacity will also totally qualify. The support covers the really heavy lifting, core plant equipment, feedstock aggregation, and organic manure processing infrastructure. Basically, they are paying to lay the concrete for an entirely new industry.
Moving right along to part 3, fixing the industry bottlenecks.
Now, you might be thinking, if the raw material is essentially free, why wasn't this already happening everywhere? Despite the obvious potential, only about 216 CBG plants have been successfully commissioned so far. Why is that? Well, Sanjay Ganju, the Director General of the Indian Federation of Green Energy, made a really interesting point. He noted that actual feedstock availability, the physical waste itself, was never actually the main constraint. He says, and I quote, "The real bottlenecks have been assured offtake, stable pricing, project viability, infrastructure, and efficient feedstock aggregation. In short, it was a total lack of coordination and financial certainty. Because honestly, no sane developer wants to invest millions into a plant if they don't know exactly who's going to buy the gas and at what price." To solve that exact pricing headache, the government stepped in with a hard guarantee. They are now offering an administered price of 2,110 rupees per MMBTU, which, by the way, is a standard energy metric standing for metric million British thermal units, for at least 10 years to biogas producers. Put yourself in the shoes of an investor for a second. This single guarantee completely changes the math of your project. It gives you that long-term, bankable revenue predictability, which is exactly what lenders need to see before they write a check.
And they didn't stop at pricing. The scheme systematically de-risks the entire sector. They've set up a dedicated credit guarantee mechanism, specifically for eligible MSME projects, that's your micro, small, and medium enterprises, to share lending risks, which drastically improves their access to institutional finance. Plus, it provides financial support to build pipelines connecting these rural CBG plants directly to city gas grids. And they're launching a CBG Ecosystem Challenge Fund to map out district-level feedstock and build local capacity. So they aren't just throwing money at isolated plants, they are meticulously funding the entire connecting ecosystem.
All right, part 4, the mandatory blending targets. So the supply side is de-risked and funded, right? But what about the demand? You can't just cross your fingers and hope people buy this new gas. You have to create a guaranteed market for it. Very similar to how ethanol is blended into gasoline in many parts of the world, city gas distribution companies will now be legally required to procure and blend CBG. It kicks off with a 3% mandatory blending obligation in financial year 2027. Then it bumps up to 4% in FY28 and finally settles at a 5% mandate from FY29 onwards for both the compressed natural gas transport segment and domestic pipe natural gas segments. The buyers are literally locked in by law now, creating a completely assured offtake for the developers.
Finally, let's wrap up with part 5, impact on India's future.
So how does all this actually ripple out on the ground? What's absolutely vital to take away from this is who gets a seat at the table. This 23,731 crore rupee investment isn't just a giant subsidy for massive already established energy corporations. It's specifically designed to expand market access and generate wealth for totally new demographics. The government expects wide participation from cooperatives, women entrepreneurs, first-time developers, and rural businesses. It's actively decentralizing energy production and putting the economic benefit right back into the rural communities where the agricultural waste is actually generated in the first place. I want to bring back Sanjay Ganju for one last quote here because he hits the nail on the head. He says, "The 23,731 crore GOBARdhan package has the potential to do for India's biogas sector what the PLI scheme did for solar manufacturing. Essentially, this acts as a massive financial catalyst to build a whole industry from scratch, just like the production-linked incentive schemes successfully did for solar panels. It's a highly strategic bridge that takes a literal, choking environmental crisis and transforms it into thousands of viable, bankable, clean energy businesses."
Which brings us to a final, really massive question. If this highly structured scheme actually works, if it successfully turns 500 million tons of air-choking pollution into a reliable domestic power source, could this exact waste-to-wealth blueprint be the answer to the world's looming energy and waste crises? It is a truly fascinating model, and one we'll for sure be keeping a very close eye on. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep learning, and I'll catch you on the next one.